Our next speaker doesn't need much of an introduction, but I'll give him one anyway, just because I'm up here. And so Dave McClure and I have known each other for a couple of years, and what I'm always amazed with is his passion, humbleness, and excitement actually to work with, collaborate, and find brilliant entrepreneurs that then hopefully become extremely successful, valuable, and make shit that matters. So I got to add a couple curses, obviously, when I'm introducing him. Recently, I was traveling around advising startups. I did, in 3 weeks, 6 countries and 3 continents. This was myself. And I was so tired. That was nothing compared to what is actually Dave's regular weekly lifestyle of traveling around the world, looking for companies and entrepreneurs that truly matter, make money, and improve the world we live in. I think he's brilliant, optimist, realist, a friend, and a true humble rock star. His mission, obviously, that he gave me a couple minutes ago is passion for today. Tomorrow it might be different, but passion is something that I love as well. Dave, come on up. How's that coffee? Is that kicking in?
It's working. It's a little slow.
So give me, just before you start, because we've got a little extra time, you invented this game called Half-Baked.
Oh, yeah, right. Yes.
What is that?
Half-Baked was not what I was last night. Half-Baked is a game I came up with about 5 or 6 years ago to, I guess, help entrepreneurs practice pitches. It's really entrepreneur improv. So there's a longer version of the game, but the short version is you have a bunch of people in a circle. One person says a word, the next person says the word, and the third person has to pitch the blank.com right away.
Right.
And then hopefully you don't suck. And
So I've been a part of these, and they're absolutely fantastic. At any hour of the day, any place, Dave will kick in and say, "Okay, we're doing it now." And everybody crowds around, and I think it's a great way to figure out how you can pitch anything and get rid of your fear from pitching. So the 2 words are...
Oh, I'm doing this now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Ready? Everybody ready?
Wait, before you say this, so there's one trick to this, which is you don't think about solution. If you guys have heard my talks before, I always say think about problem. So when they say the words, you think, okay, who's the customer, what's their problem, and then you kind of go right into it. So I'll try and figure this out.
All right. First word is whiskey.
Whiskey.
Second word is waterfall.
Whiskey, waterfall. You can also reverse the order if you would like. Waterfall, whiskey, whiskey, waterfall. Whiskeywaterfall.com. So the customer is somebody who does ice sculpture. But the problem is in the winter, ice sculpture is really not that interesting. So they actually want to make a display with whiskey, except they don't want to use too much whiskey, so they need something that recycles the whiskey. So it's basically this ice sculpture, except it's with whiskey, and then it recycles because it's a whiskey waterfall. And they sell it in places where, during the summer, they usually sell ice, but in the winter, they have to sell something that's more interesting with whiskey.
I'm in. I'd buy. I'm a big whiskey drinker. Give it up. Dave,
I don't know.
I'll let you take it away.
I don't know if that was that great, but I apologize. It's a little early. In California time, so it's about 6:30. I'll try and wake up before this talk is over. You guys are all entrepreneurs, right? Really? Are you awake? How many of you consider yourself a practicing entrepreneur? You fucking idiots. Jesus. Okay, well, this is all for you. So, how many of you are entrepreneurs who started a business within the last year? Should be all the same hands, because if you're more than a year, you should be out there dealing with customers. So the thing I tell people when they get started with a business is to take risk early, because most of the time you're going to fail. It's not going to matter. It will be painful. It will be a hassle. No one will notice you at all. Most people are afraid of screwing up, but the real fear is that no one will ever notice you. So you should be more afraid of people not ever discovering you than actually finding you and hating you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about starting up with sex, love, and violence. Be prepared. Okay, so warning, I love Comic Sans. Most people don't. Yeah, and these slides are fucking bloody hell, so you'll just have to deal with that too. Apologies, people in the audience with color blindness. You won't be able to see a goddamn thing. So, another warning. These slides will offend you, most all of you, women, men, old, young, white people, non-white people, whatever. I will probably give you a lot of incorrect advice here, so I encourage you not to listen to a damn thing I'm saying. You might get arrested. Fucking deal with it. So, what we're going to talk about. Being different, taking risks, standing out, being your own hero and villain, finding the super you. Whatever you're doing, I want you to do it with passion. Again, you're most likely going to fail, but if you want somebody to notice you, you should at least dive into it with gusto. Before we do that, a brief commercial. I used to be a geek. I used to be a coder. I was kind of a crappy entrepreneur. I was an okay marketer. These days, trying to be a decent investor doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be decent to you, just that I'm be decent in making money. Some companies we've invested in: Wildfire, Twilio, SendGrid, which is actually here. I think Isaac's backstage. TaskRabbit, and one of my recent favorites, 9gag. How many people know 9gag? 9gag is fucking amazing. Anyway, so we've invested in the last 2 years. 500 Startups is my fund and also an internet accelerator. We're floor wax, we're dessert topping. We've invested in a little over 300 companies in the last 2 years, fairly international, about 15 or 20 countries. Most of our investments are in Silicon Valley, but we do a lot of stuff for the rest of the US. We've done probably 8 or 9 companies, I think, out of Canada, and a bunch in Asia, Europe, and South America. All right, so if I'm not too interesting, at least a couple things here might be. I like to pitch these books in case I suck. At least you'll take something away from this that would be useful. I'm currently been on a huge man crush on Jeffrey Miller. He wrote a book called The Mating Mind, which is about the theory of sexual selection, not natural selection. Charles Darwin spent about 20 years of his life working on natural selection. Everybody sort of knows fittest, strongest, et cetera, survive. He spent the rest of his life working on a theory of sexual selection to explain all the other shit that wasn't explained by natural selection. Those theories were largely ridiculed and not really accepted for about 80 years or so. The last 10 or 20 years, they've come back into a little bit more discussion. Anyway, so Mating Mind is sort of the theory. Spent, which is the book that I encourage you to start with, is about applying behavioral psychology to consumer marketing, to some extent internet marketing, but more generally consumer marketing. Really fascinating talk about how we think, about how a lot of our very basic human emotions, fight-flight mechanism, access to resources, et cetera, how that applies in doing marketing. If any of you have read a couple of other books, let's see, is that progressing? Influence, Psychology of Persuasion, people know that one, Cialdini? Oh, really? Okay, well, that one's also amazing. That one's been around for about 20 years or more, and also talks about sort of generally applying crowd psychology, human psychology to a lot of situations, not necessarily just marketing. And then a little bit of a sort of weird favorite, Understanding Comics, is about the use of static image and text in sequence to tell stories. Again, I think very applicable to a lot of stuff we do on the web. So lastly, I think Chris was talking about a couple of these topics. We are basically the Italian Renaissance right now for geeks. Really, there has been no better time. Doesn't mean you guys are going to succeed. Most of you will still fail, but it's never been cheaper to start a startup. You've never had access to more people, more devices, more bandwidth. Monetization still kind of sucks in a lot of different places, but it's getting better. We've done a tremendous amount of technology innovation. In some cases, we've done financial innovation that both hurts and helps us. Recently, design innovation, at least the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen a lot more emphasis on design in consumer products, so Apple most notably, but a lot of the web now incorporating more design elements, not just geekery. A company I was an investor and consultant advisor for called Mint.com really took a product that had been developed before by Yodlee, account aggregation on the back end, gave it a different look and feel on the front end, and created a very valuable service that Intuit later bought. You might look at the same set of services that Yodlee and Mint offered. Mint really put a different sort of design and trust and sort of feel on top of that. Social innovation, I think we all sort of use Facebook and Twitter now, and it's very widely accepted. That's it's kind of weird because like 10 years ago, hardly any of that existed. At least before the adoption of Friendster and MySpace, there was not too many other large social networks that were in use. And then global innovation. We've been doing investments now around the world. In the last 3 years, I've done Geeks on a Plane trips to about 3 different continents. And there's geeks everywhere. And I think I used to have a picture of Lady Gaga on the slide. That's why the gender innovation, I think I changed that slightly. So what I want to encourage you is to think about where your passion comes from and how you can infuse that in your startup. Again, because you are most likely not going to succeed and fail, you should have a good time trying to fail and doing something that you care about. So initially, what I will ask you is to be different and take some risk. So what does that mean? Particularly to take risk early. Just mathematically speaking, if you actually are successful at some point, you actually might not want to take as much risk. If you have customer base, if you are making money, your chances of fucking that up by doing too much innovation, pivoting, or whatever are much larger. So given that you start from a place where you have nothing, you should take a lot of risk. The downside is you fail and nobody cares or nobody notices, but the upside is they might actually notice. So playing it safe when you're getting started with a startup is really death. You're not going to catch anybody's attention. You won't really learn very much. The interesting thing is that hate is much closer to success than indifference. Why do I say that? Well, if people actually hate you, and I would say that in a way that they actually care enough to tell you that they hate you, you're getting some signal back. You're knowing kind of what they actually don't like, either about you, your product, your branding, your marketing, whatever, and you can do something with that. If they don't give a fuck about what you're doing and they don't care about you, they won't give you any feedback. You have nothing to iterate or pivot around. So hate is much closer to love than you think and much closer to success. You also can't build any brand around indifference. So even if you are hated by someone, often I am hated or ridiculed by many people, there is something there that you can grab onto that's essence. And you're not trying to make everybody love you. You want like some people to sort of care about what you're doing. The amplitude of that emotion, whether it's positive or negative, is what matters, not always whether they just hate you. But in any case, both of those things, love or hate, are good, and you can do some things with that. So take risk early. All you're doing is preparing yourself and giving yourself information to iterate. The other thing I encourage you is to stand for something. And it doesn't have to be the right thing, the perfect thing. It can change, but you should try and be an icon of something significant for someone. Hopefully you, and hopefully somebody other than your mom. But the people and images I've chosen here sort of resonate in a single word almost. So you want to try and define the essence of what that word or icon or emotion is. So in the example that Evan gave me, whiskey waterfall. That sounds like a lot of pain and loss there. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but you can imagine an alcoholic sitting under a waterfall of whiskey, and I'm sure there's a lot of emotion there for you to start working with. Like I said before, you don't want to be afraid to be hated. I know that also sounds weird. Many of us are geeks and probably have had social issues most of our lives. Shame as well as hate might be something that we've had some experience with. But those places where you are shamed or hated are actually powerful. They, again, tie into emotions that are meaningful for you. Maybe you actually don't like the fact that you've been shamed. Maybe you are afraid of doing something. Maybe there's something that you actually hate yourself that's caused you to do this startup. Tying into those emotions again, really find your passion and what makes you different, what makes you powerful in the world. Expression I like to say also is aim for the moon, but land on the roof if you can. You won't always be successful with your extremely aspirational goals and dreams, but you might accomplish a few things that are useful out of aiming for much bigger things. That image should probably offend some people. So the things that I think are also important is to tap into humanity and our tribe. What are the things that you run from or run to? What do you love? What are you secretly jealous of? Do you have the ability to control your world? Is that something that you actually feel is within your grasp or not within your grasp? Who is your tribe? Is it a bunch of other geeks in Montreal? Is it a bunch of moms in the Midwest? Is it a bunch of older people in another country? You want to find and connect with the people that matter to you and understand what, again, matters to them. What is their problem? What is their passion? How can you solve a problem or inflame a passion? Again, you'll see me sort of tap into both positives and negatives. So I know a lot of us probably are Star Wars fans. How many people secretly wish they were Darth Vader, not Luke Skywalker? Yeah, so I actually find there's more power in the villainous side of things than the hero side of things. The heroes are easy, they're all goodness and light, wonderful things. The villains are much more complex. They've got a lot going on. Lex Luthor, Darth Vader, these really, really rich and complex characters. Usually they're powerful for us in many ways. Intellect, anger, lust, violence, all these things that really, again, tap into big emotion. So who do you love? Who do you admire? Who do you want to be? Who are you secretly jealous of that you might not admit you want to be to other people? Probably there's a lot of things that you may hate or state that you hate, but you actually secretly wish you had some aspects of those things that you hate. And again, your goal is not to necessarily be perfect in that implementation, but just not to be boring. Particularly when you're getting started, you want to try things that might fail, but have the chance for success. Success can also be that people hate you. This one's interesting. I've done this talk about 2 or 3 times, and I've been playing with different components of this. Anybody Adult Swim fans? Do they have that up here? Do you guys know that? This is the Moonanites, and very sort of single character. They're somewhat famous for flipping people the bird. So I always find that, again, the iconic stuff comes usually from imagery or some sort of powerful word, sometimes music. Can you do this experiment with me? This, again, will probably offend some of you. Turn to the person on left and right, pick a partner, just look at them for a second. Don't gonna be too strange. Okay, so figure out who you got. Okay, now do this. Take your middle finger, this, okay, and then give it to the person next to you. Now you're all laughing. You're probably a little bit tentative with that, but did you kind of feel ooh, weird? Okay, now take turns. Choose one person, do it first. So one person in the pair each, you know who you are? Okay. Now I want you to give it a little bit more power, which is like that. On three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, now the other person, hey, what the hell? That guy just gave me the finger. What the fuck? You're that's affronting. I want to give it right back to him. So now a little bit more. I want you to aim for their nose. Don't punch them, but come really fucking close. So the other person in the pair on 3. 1, give it. 2, 3. In their nose. Hold it up. Shake it in their face, at their nose. Fuck you. Come here, come up here. You, yes, you. Okay, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first.
You can go first, okay.
Sure. Right in your nose.
Do it. Oh, I can do better than that.
Okay, sure.
Fuck you.
Oh, I like that one. Fuck you too.
Ooh. Okay, I want all of you to wait, don't leave, right here. We're idiots, we're assholes, you fucking hate us. Show it to us. Yeah, there it is, right? On 3, give it to us. 1, 2, 3.
Well, man, they hate this.
Okay, we got to give it back to them because we can't tolerate that. This is our tribe. You can't fuck with us in our house. This is our house. On 3, ready? 1, 2, 3. Fuck you. All right, thank you very much. Now, my job here is not to make you all like chronic Tourette's entrepreneurs, but I want to wake you up. I want you to feel that passion. It's interesting how, a single finger sort of can drive so much emotion. What has imbued this finger? Like, doesn't that, I'm just leaving it right up there for you. It's like right there. You're like, ow, Jesus, what is that, right? It's like tapping into something. I don't even understand, like, how is it that genetically we are born, we come from the womb, and then somehow this nurture thing that we do, this, at least for some set of people, carries such emotion that it might drive people to kill someone, right? Someone's probably been killed for giving somebody else the bird, right? So I don't know what's going on there, but there's all sorts of feelings and emotions. You're probably not comfortable doing that exercise unless I gave you permission. Walking up to someone and flipping the bird right in their fucking face, you're going to get knocked, right? Something's going to happen there. So like in this, it's a little safe to try that exercise right here, but I guarantee you, try that out on the streets of Montreal tonight. Yeah, that'll be fun. Right? So I want you to explore and take risk and jump outside yourself with some of that passion. Sorry, I know less is more. These slides are not less. So once you figure out something that works, and again, working could be that people hate it, right? It might not be that the thing you're doing they love. It might be that they write a bunch of negative fucking comments on your website or call you up on customer service. PayPal. I used to work for PayPal. Believe me, the number of people who would like fucking hate us for locking up their money and not giving it to them because we needed some like form or fax or something else. People were pissed. You take away their money, they're fucking pissed, right? So, but the thing is, there was something that they liked enough to hate, right? What was going on there that they actually cared enough to hate that much? Well, for many people, PayPal was the only way that a small merchant could accept credit cards online. They were solving a very, very basic and specific problem. However, then when they processed the payment and kept it, then that was what created the hate. So it's something when you catch that hate, you know that you're tapping into something that matters. It might give you the opportunity to turn into something they actually like and care about. So when you get something that they love or hate, something is working. Something is working, and you want to try and iterate, figure out what is it that's working? Can I enhance that? Sometimes you even want to dial up the hate to figure out exactly what's going on there. But iteration and repetition, once you tap into that something, that's what's going to let you figure out how to create that business, how to create that service, how to create that passion for people. And again, copy and steal from yourself. I stole these slides from myself. I knew they worked before. I just did that fuck you exercise once before, and people were all over it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try that again. One more time, everybody at me. 1, 2, 3. Fuck you. All right, great. Lastly, your goal is to be yourself, but be your super self. Your super fucking self. I am Super Dave, right? Who are you? Are you the super you? Do you feel comfortable enough to get up here and go, ugh? Can you do that? Can you do that? Get up here right now. Come on, come on. You're going to Hulkify with me. Ready? Yep. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you very much. So, passion starts from a place that you're familiar with. Start with something that you care about. Start with something in your heart that makes you passionate, that you give a damn about. Again, if you're going to fail, you might as well do something you care about. But the super you starts from something that's authentic. It's not the car salesman. It's not the radio talk show host, unless that's what you care about. John Rome probably, yes, he does care about that. You want to find the place that you actually give a fuck about enough, then grow that. Take risk and grow that. Make it bigger. Make it something that you actually do care about. There's a business we invested in called Elacart that solves a problem by putting a tabletop ordering menu system on restaurants, right? That's a problem that I have all the time. I'm like sitting in the restaurant, I can't get the goddamn waiter's attention. I want to leave, I want to order something, I want to pay the bill. They're like not looking at me or not paying attention. Here's this little device that'll hopefully allow me to order and get their attention. It solves a real problem. The person who built that business was passionate about solving that problem, right? And remember that you want to find an emotion that you can sustain. The things that you care about, again, when they're not working, and believe me, lots of things you're going to try are not going to work, that emotion, the passion that you have, will carry you. Hopefully will carry you through. And even weakness can be okay. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you guys for listening to my talk this morning. And again, fuck you all, bitches.